Hello, you are listening to the Cerulean Skies Podcast Network. Today we're doing part 2 of our music discussion podcast, and we don't really have a witty or cringe name for this yet, so we're just calling it the Music Discussion Podcast. I'm once again joined with my buddies John and Seth.
Oh,
For those not watching the VOD, you watch this man throw up some big ol' fingers.
4 of them,
More
to be
fingers.
exact.
But yeah, so today we're going to be doing another topic, and this topic is music that got us through COVID, because COVID is over. The thing never existed. No one has to wear a mask anymore. We don't have to worry about it. It's completely wiped from our existence. Actually, John just gave me COVID, so we have that going for us. No, but I guess like music that got us through like the darkest depths of quarantine, right, Seth? That was sort of like your guys for this. Yeah. So accompanying this podcast, we will be doing a weekly a weekly playlist. Sorry, I can't speak today. And I will link that in the show description and put it in whatever notes are available. But it'll be 4 tracks from each of us boys that you guys can listen to, preferably along with this podcast, because that would fill out that time perfectly. So, John, we'll start with you. Some music that got you through COVID, man. Let's hear it.
Okay, I'll just jump right in with the first band, The Deer Hunter.
Mm.
hey,
I don't know if you guys have ever heard of The Deer Hunter, but they're fucking incredible.
Yeah,
They're
of
like
of course.
progressive post-hardcore, but kind of just turned into like a straight up prog rock band. Yeah, man, I don't know. I like listened to them a little bit before COVID, but then like during COVID, I don't know, something fucking hit, and like I just started going into their music super hard. Like specifically their series of albums called The Axe,
Mm-hmm.
which is like some long ass story in the vein of like Coheed and Cambria. But yeah, it's just front to back, every one of them are incredible. And then during COVID too, they did 2 live streams where they played the first 2 albums like completely through, and those were like incredible performances.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, so that's my first E.
My stomach just made a terrible sound. I hope that Mike didn't just pick that up. Did it
Little
pick
bit.
it up just a little bit?
Yeah.
That was just really strange. I don't know what's that's. I have to get like an endoscopy soon because of what's happening with my esophagus. So it's just really weird. Anyway, yeah, John, I think when I met you, you were in that phase pretty deeply.
Yeah,
Because I've seen them do Act 1 and 2 live before. I never saw the whole. What is it? 5? There's
yeah,
5, right?
yeah.
Oh, good. Now I have some cool sound out effects. Yeah, this is everything was working perfectly fine, and now like everything is fucking up. You love to see it. Um, yeah. What about you, Seth? What's a band or album or something that got you through COVID?
Easily fit for an autopsy. I became so. I heard them before. They're another band that I heard a while ago, and I was just like, it's not really my thing, especially like deathcore in general. I just wasn't the biggest fan of. And then Fit for an Autopsy, I started listening to Sea of Tragic Beasts, and I was just like, holy fuck, this album is insane. Just the music, lyrics, just the atmosphere more than anything, just as, dreary the entire way through. And I'm like, yeah, I really am vibing with this shit. And I think everyone knows them for Sea of Tragic Beasts, just the single itself. And then from there, I started going through the Great Collapse and Absolute Hope, Absolute Hell. And then I just became obsessed with them. I was listening to them all day, every day for like a solid 12 months. If I wasn't listening to audiobooks or podcasts, it was just Fit for an Autopsy for the whole of 2020. And yeah, I then just from that love has stemmed, and now we're in 2022. It's currently my album of the year. Oh, what the future holds. My son, he has a 6-hour playlist just called Fit for Dante's Ears, where he just listens to Fit for an Autopsy for 6 hours straight through the night. And So that passion has passed over, and it's brilliant. I love it. And so yeah, that'd be definitely the band that's carried the torch for me throughout the last 2 years.
Cool. I'll carry the heavy, well, sort of heavy, I guess like tonally heavy torch into mine, and it's the album Inlet by Hum. This is like, what is it? Like I think 25 years removed from their last album.
Jesus.
Holy,
No, actually, no, sorry, 22 years, because I think that came out in 98. Their last album, Downward is Heavenward, uh, it was 2000 or 1998, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, either way, they just released this album in 2020, and it's like, usually like when you hear bands that were kicking it in the 90s reunite and try to make like a reformation album, it's like it's usually pretty good, but it usually lacks a bit of punch. This is probably like their heaviest album. Like it's chunky, man. There's some fucking riffs. Um, and like, John and I were talking about this a bit before, but Hum was like a big influence on Deftones and a lot of the early 2000s like heavy music for sure. And they're kind of like an unclassifiable, like they're somewhere between like almost like I don't know, like indie rock and like
Shoegaze.
sludge almost. Like there's a lot of like big guitar stuff, a lot of big tone stuff, super low bass. Uh, Again, just a riff band for sure. Um, so like yeah, Inlet is very like chunky. It's some of the songs go on like super long, maybe to their detriment at times, but like as a whole, like it's a
Opeth
very
style.
crushing album. What's that?
Opeth style.
Yeah, but like more of like the Jesus, like indie rock or like Midwest US style of that, if such a thing exists. Um this they
Midwest.
got really popular in the 90s, the mid 90s, for a song they did called Stars, and it's like almost like a like definitely like their poppiest song, but even in that song it's got an enormous riff. So like it yeah, this album like stayed on my rotation pretty heavily while I was playing Shadowbringers. So
Oh,
I have a
nice.
lot of relation to FF14. Um,
It's the best.
Seth, I'll kick this back to you before we go back to John. What's another one for you?
Me. Oh, you caught me off
Mhm.
guard.
Gotcha,
You
bitch.
motherfucker.
Fat
Sleep
guy.
Token. Sleep
Oh yeah.
Token, definitely Sleep Token. So I was coming up. So Alien from North Lane. I love North Lane. Our whole family is obsessed with North Lane. So they just brought out Alien at the end of 2019, and they were saying a big influence on them is Sleep Token, and I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna check this band out. Holy fucking shit! I was just like so caught off guard by how not just beautiful and mesmerizing his voice is for one, but
It's like
then that that. Sorry, don't
it's
carry on.
like kind of like heavy gospel.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's
I
what they
see
go
that.
for though. Like worship, like that's their
Yeah.
thing, and
I'd say
then
that
they have those.
aesthetically, yeah, but like even just like the music itself,
Yeah,
like they nail that like gospel, heavy gospel sound.
it's very trance like in its ways, and yeah, that so I got into them, and sorry, I don't know, has my audio dropped out?
You sound good.
Oh no, I just get concerned since we've had all those issues. Um, so what the big thing for me with that was, so with Red Dead Redemption 2, I played it for a while, I hated it, and then I broke my wrist, and I started playing it again, and I needed a soundtrack to play throughout that because I was just doing all the grindy stuff after I finished the game. And so I just had Sleep Token on repeat, and I think I played 400 hours of Red Dead Redemption, and so about 320 of those hours I was listening to Sleep Token.
That's wild.
Jeez.
And so yeah, I was fully invested, and I managed to even convince my whole family to get into Sleep Token to the point where my brother, who likes rap and ska and reggae music, wants to come and see them with us when we go see them with North Lane in 2 weeks.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, and my mum, she like because my mum is a beautician, and she has them in her rotation playlist when like she has business clients around and stuff like that. So that just shows the appeal, despite how heavy they can be, that they have songs that can appeal to the mass majority,
Okay,
and
I got a
they just
question for
they just
you.
do it so well. And yeah, mesmerizing. That's the word for it. Mesmerizing.
Steph, I got a question for you. So you said that you when was it that you started listening to them like really heavy, like 2020?
It's funny. Yeah,
Dude, so that was like just sundowning then.
yeah, yeah. And
That's
the
crazy.
I'm just having a mind fart.
That's
What was
crazy
the
though
one
because
that?
like their second album just came out last year. So like you listen to 300 hours of one album.
Yeah.
But that was like Nazareth and Calcutta and like all their earlier stuff. Like because what was it?
Oh yeah.
The offering.
Yeah. I forgot they had these
Yes,
like
yeah,
little
yeah,
EPs.
and yeah, because I'm just like I said, I'm just not thinking it's only 8 o'clock in the morning here, but the night does not belong to God. But yeah, the offering is the one that got me. As soon as I heard that, I was hooked, and just that outro, that oh
I think Higher was the first song I heard by them, and that song is fucking mesmerizing.
The song Higher by
oh,
Creed, actually, was the first Sleep Token song ever made.
Hell yeah, brother. That's what
you
I'm
are
talking about.
the garden. Yeah, I love that. I love that song.
I I haven't really listened to Sleep Token. Like I listened to their albums like once, and I I, I think I just need to like go back and kind of give it another shot because it's not that I didn't like it. It's just that it just didn't stick with me in the moment, and I think maybe
Yeah,
because I was cleaning or doing something else.
For sure. It's definitely like a cinematic experience, I'd say. Like it's something
time
that
and
you should sit
place.
down and
Yeah,
like listen to.
Interesting. Yeah. I'll I have a lot of stuff. By the way, if you guys have anything to recommend me on the plane tomorrow, hit your boy up.
oh, I will be.
Um, yes, John. What about you? What's another one for you, man?
I'm gonna shake it up for myself because I wrote these out in a
Ooh.
list, but Circa Survive.
Yo.
Okay, so like I've always been into Circa Survive, but never really like super into Circa Survive. And then I think it was like late 2020. I was like going through like a whole fucking like experience. I had like a breakup and COVID shit going down on me, and I listened to fucking Blue Sky Noise like probably like 60 fucking times. That album like became a part of me for a fucking while, and like it really helped me to process a lot of shit. And like, yeah, I don't know, man. Something about Anthony Green and like his writing and like his style and everything. Like, I don't know, man. He's just such a
His
fucking
voice.
talented and beautiful musician and like person. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's just something with Circa like clicked for me late in 2020, and like I got like super big into them. I remember having a conversation with Joey about them too, and like I think I was trying to get you to listen to Blue Sky Noise, and you were like super big into like Jaturna.
Yeah, I listen to Blue Sky
Get
Noise. I'm just
out.
not a big fan.
Yeah, but yeah, it was just I don't know, good band, good album.
Oh,
Hell yeah,
thing is, sorry, I was just gonna say the thing is, Circus Survivors. I think that band we've mentioned before that everyone sings in their car or tries to sing in their car at least. Just they have those type of songs where you just want to belt out and try and imitate Anthony Green, and he's he's just
I have his
phenomenal. And you're
voice
right,
range, so it's
really.
like I'm stuck in that. Yeah, my voice is really high, so Like, I
You
mean,
got
I
the
can't.
gravelly.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, like, I'm not trying to say I can sing like Anthony Green. I could just sing in his register. Like, that's the those are two different things.
Yeah.
I fucking wish I could sing in his register.
So do
I
I.
don't know. Having a high voice is rough because um, I'm just oppressed. Like it's harder for me. It's harder for people to do like Kelly and I've tried to like work with like trying to have us like do harmonies or stuff on songs that I've made. And it's hard because her voice isn't super high, but mine is. So she ends up having to sing low end, like
Oh.
Yeah.
so it's like it's really weird. Not that there's any like gender roles involved in that or anything like that. I didn't mean to imply that. But like it's just like it just yeah, I don't know. It's a different thing than I'm used to, I guess. But
Dude,
yeah, I have a good segue for this. First of all, actually, a little anecdote. The first band I ever played in was a little band called Apocalypse Eve. I was in 7th grade. And no, 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 freshman. No, this is 8th grade going into freshman year. So that whole year, we covered 7 years by a Seosin um,
no.
at a church, and I had just seen Seosin live. It was like during the Anthony Green time. I'd just seen Seosin live, and I was like inspired. And so we covered that song, and I was like, that's better than anything that we wrote. But I have a really good segue with Anthony Green because he just guested on this band I'm about to mention's album, Cara Cara. They just released an album called New Preoccupations that slaps. But during COVID, I kind of discovered them, and they have at the time they only really had like an older sort of almost demo-y full length and then an EP and a couple singles. So I listened to those singles and that EP over and over again, and it's so good, man. I don't know, like there's somewhere between like I don't know, like Jimmy Eat World, Bon Iver, and like Thursday. I know Seth is. I know I just triggered Seth with Thursday, but like there's
And Bonnie
definitely like a
Bear.
bit of and Bon Iver, yeah, really. You know what? I'm not. I don't even like really like Bon Iver that much. It's like he or they. I don't know if he writes with a collective now, but I guess Justin Vernon stuff in general. Like I'm not like a huge fan, but like I like some of his tracks. But yeah. Either way, these Cara Cara songs are really sick. This new album is really sick. It was like really refreshing to hear something kind of do an older style. Like how do I say this? They're sort of like the almost like the Static Dress of this particular brand of indie rock, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
Um so yeah, and Anthony Green, like I said, Anthony Green guested on one of you know what? I'm actually gonna change my playlist now because this is fitting. Uh I'll put the Anthony Green track on the playlist that I made. Or the playlist selections that I made. Um just so it's like both topical and also relative to this podcast. I don't know.
That's fine.
Um,
That makes
John, I'll
sense.
kick it back to you. What's another one for you?
I'm actually like I was trying to go through our messages to find where we were talking about Cara Cara and I can't fucking find it, but I
I
remember
think it was on Twitter
yeah.
proper.
And
Yeah.
I remember comparing them to another fucking band and I can't remember what it was for the life of me.
Shit. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, you said something that was like super on point about them too. But
Yeah,
they're really good. They're
it's
really
completely
good.
gone. Anyways, I'll go to my
Just
next one.
did them.
This is like this one's going to be like right out of left field. Bear with
Mhm.
me. Phoebe Bridgers.
Oh, dude, this is on mine too. Hell yeah.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. For sure, definitely.
That's crazy.
Punisher was like a deep COVID album for me, man.
Dude, Punisher alone, like, holy fuck. That album came out and I had no idea who the fuck this woman was. I had
Mhm.
zero clue. One fucking listen through that album and I'm in love. I'm like, who the fuck are you? Because this is fucking immaculate. But like it's so like moody and like sad and fucking I don't know, man. Like she's such a fucking good songwriter, and like the shit that she like how she articulates things into words. I don't know. It just resonated with me really in a really big way.
Yeah, no, that album absolutely rips. It, Garden Song, I think, is the best track off that because I fucking love I was saying this when Kelly was streaming Eastward and I was backseating. Actually, Seph was backseating too. But
God.
the soundtrack in that has this like really warbly analog tape effect. Like it sounds like they took the master for the song and put it in like the tape, like they put it on a
Like
tape
a
and they
yeah,
put it in the oven. Because it's like warbly and like it's beautiful, man. Like
dude.
that's what the kind of guitar tone that she used for it. And I think she tunes like a step down or something, so you get like more space in the notes. Like it's like a
Yeah.
she definitely uses a guitar that doesn't use very thick gauge strings, so it's like rather than being heavy, it's just kind of open, and it that lends itself like really interesting to analog effects like that and just like reverb in general. As long as your playing is super clean, so which hers is. Like I can tell she's like definitely had um some kind of like classical training of some sort.
Dude,
Um,
she's a fucking chord master.
yeah, she's so good. She's so
To
good, and it's like,
hold on, I'm gonna jump in here. Have you heard the fuck, what is it? Better Oblivion Community Center album that she did with
oh yeah, the
Connor
thing with
Oberst?
Connor Oberst and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah,
Dude, again, that fucking album is
Bloody hell.
a chord machine.
chord machine.
Yeah, dude, it's so good. But yeah.
Well, and it's like, okay, so I always get stuck on this concept of like, maybe I'm just easy to please, but I think my favorite thing is just chord progressions.
Yeah.
Like just good sounding chord progressions. Sometimes that's all I need. I don't need to have like technical guitar playing as long as like the progressions are like match the tone of the song or like fall in line with the
Yeah.
vocals or there's some kind of narrative or like emotional backbone to it. So like I think
This
Phoebe Bridgers is a perfect example. I mean, I'm sure she can fucking shred, dude. Like I'm positive she can. But like she doesn't have to because her playing is so just like clean and to the point that like it doesn't need any kind of flourish, right? It just needs like texture. And like me, yeah, I fucking love that style. Maybe that makes me a fake guitarist, but that's just my opinion, man.
honestly, dude, this throws back to our discussion last week where we were talking about writing a good song. How
Mhm.
like as I get older, moving away from like tech death and like prog metal and stuff like that, I'm finding that like a lot more indie and folk type of stuff is like catching my attention more because it's like it's just fucking super clean chord progressions that sound great
Mhm.
instead of like this guy can play fucking 300 notes
Good
a minute.
music. Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah.
And that's not a knock to like the dudes that can play like fucking 500 notes a minute. I still love
Right,
that shit.
right.
Like now I'm finding that like stuff like Phoebe and like Drew Thompson and pop like bands that are all about chord
Yeah.
progression. You know what I mean? That's starting to like jump out more to me. But yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
I'm
I think that's something that happens when you get older too. You get a couple
yeah.
gray hairs in your beard, and that's what happens.
I'm concerned about
Suddenly,
how much pop I've heard.
What also?
I have heard like because I got John to recommend me 4 songs by Pup to convince me that they're not shit earlier in the week. And
Mhm.
I heard all of them and I love them all. And I was like, holy crap. And then I went through a lot of their stuff and I'm like, I've actually heard a lot of their stuff and I don't understand how. Like it's just it takes me back to what I call the Tony Hawk's soundtracks. And I was going hard on them the last 2 days. It was awesome.
This man was doing the best he can, just blasting Goldfinger,
holding on to what he can.
holding on to what he can.
No,
That's funny.
I really enjoyed them and Poison the Well. While we're on
Oh,
there.
hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I like the reconvening aspect of this podcast, like, the reconvening after having listened to the songs that each of
Yeah.
us recommended.
Oh, it was
I mean,
great.
like,
That was my.
I'm
Sorry, you carry on,
curious, like,
Joe.
how did you vibe with the, like, chordiness of corniness? Sorry, I don't know if I enunciated clearly. How did you vibe with that aspect of Poison the Well?
I loved it. It's oh, I can't remember the name of the first song that I think it was like the like the earlier song that they had that you put on the playlist,
Oh,
and I was just
nerdy.
like, yeah, and I was just like, nah, the vocals were a bit too recorded through the toilet door through for me, but the rest, like what's that one, Bolt Charter or something?
Oh, Botchla.
Um,
Yeah.
Botchla, that song ripped, man. It kicked off, and I was just like, oh fuck yeah! And I'm
Mhm.
just at work, head banging, and then just having a blast.
Like, that brings me joy. That brings me joy. Um, shit, who d you just shit, who's you know what? Fuck it. I'll just take the reins on this next one. Shit, I got, uh damn, I'm boring with my list here, but On Circles by Caspian. Um, not one of their best albums, I don't think, but, it came out in 2020 in the midst of COVID, and, it was really good. It's still very post-rocky. There's a little bit more cinematic stuff in this one, a couple songs with vocals again, like, more clear upfront vocals for a band that's, like, predominantly instrumental post-rock stuff, and, like, just a lot of really really cool, like, guitar effects driven stuff, and, but, like, the first song on this album, this is a Will Yip recorded this, so it's gonna sound really good. Um, but the first track on this album has, like a super atmospheric saxophone, and God, we just fucking need more of that. So I went like after this album, I went on a spree of, like, trying to find bands that, really incorporated a saxophone well. Uh, and, like, there's some really good examples for sure, but I more things need a sax. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'm not saying, I'm
100%
just saying.
agree.
Uh, Seth, what about you? What's your next one here?
Oh man, this I may as well throw my wild card out there because I was trying to think like yesterday about because I've listened to a lot of Swedish and Danish metal. Don't want to get them confused, but you got Humanity's Last Breath, Jata, just anything Buzz is part of or Buster, and
Hmm.
but I ended up going with Leprous of all bands. So I don't know if either of you have heard Leprous.
Oh yeah.
Um, Wailing vocals, man. Nighttime Disguise. Holy yeah, trying to belt that out at the top of your lungs with all those falsettos and wavering notes and stuff like that while you're trying to do a workout. Yeah, it's a surreal experience. I'll say that much. But yeah, there's just something about them that you can. They're just so. It's like Sleep Token. They're so hypnotic that you can just that they have that my Belinda, I don't know if you're gonna hear it, but Belinda has this thing where she loves the deedle dees. Like whenever a band has like, riffing going on and then they have a deedle dee in the background that complements that heavy chugging, she's just like, oh yeah, I immediately love this. Like Carnival are just notorious for doing it. And
Mhm.
so anytime and yeah, Leprous are one of those bands that they basically their whole songs are just that, and that they have that bouncy back and forth of their like note picking, like it's just like the same repeated like three or four notes, just really fast, and yeah, they do that throughout the entirety of their songs while he's just fucking going into full falsetto and just singing
Hmm.
nonstop. And like you were talking about before, just it's just a vocal heavy band because he knows it's like that Alskia, the more poppy singer that's not well known for his falsetto. He knows he can fucking do it, so he just does it.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so he dominates the stage, but then it doesn't take away from the music itself. And just throughout COVID, I found out I liked a lot of stuff that was, again, the word atmospheric, just stuff that you could kind of mellow out to. And like I said, I was trying to get fit throughout COVID, so I didn't just want heavy as fuck stuff to throw on. I wanted something to kind of get me in the zone, so I could just I don't know, fall into the routine. And yeah, Leprous were the band for that for me. They were just that especially the latest album is just incredible.
Interesting. Yeah, Leprous has like a lot of like organ and synth stuff, or like keyboard stuff, not organ, right? Like
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
that, like a lot of this is the Scandinavian like metal and uh, power metal stuff. Like they incorporate really busy keyboard lines with like not like super complex guitar, but like really fast guitar, and it sounds awesome. I think.
Vola.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I feel that. John, what about you? What's next on your joint?
Oh, next on my joint is Pup, obviously.
Oh, I knew it was coming. I knew it
Yeah.
was coming.
Yeah, what else can I fucking say about Pup, man? Like, that is a band that I should have been into years ago, especially around here because they've played here fucking dozens of times. And, like,
Mhm.
I think it was 2019 when their album Morbid Stuff came out. And I remember they played, like, the local concert theater. It's called the Music Hall. And it was a sold out show, and somebody offered me a ticket. And at the time, I'd never heard of them, so I'm like, nah, I'm gonna fucking pass.
Mhm.
Literally, 3 months later, I listen to Morbid Stuff. I fall in love. I'm fucking like, it
Dude,
becomes
yeah.
one of my favorite albums of all fucking time. And I'm like, why did I fucking pass it up? Why did I fucking pass it up? And then COVID hit, and then I didn't get a fucking chance to see them for like 2 years. And then I finally got to see them this year. But yeah, it's like, I don't know, man. That band is just, it's something fucking special. Something about their lyrics and their music and their presence. They're just like the
Nice.
coolest fucking dudes that make like the funnest fucking music. That's like the best way to put it. Yeah. Forever a
Yeah, it's
favorite.
funny when bands have that like delayed onset hit, right? Like because
Yeah.
and it's like this weird mix of like regret and sort of, I don't know, like spite almost, because you're like, like you went through, like, because that I've had that exact experience that you just had with a band. Like they'll come to town, and I just like I'll sleep on it because I either didn't listen to them closely enough or not at all. And then like a little bit after I get into it, and it's like I wonder if having purposely elected to not see them like influenced how much you end up enjoying them, right? Because you're like, i- there's something to be said about like when you surprise yourself
Yeah.
about liking something, right? Where you like something
Me
like
with
hits
Pup.
you, takes you right, right, right. The pup effect, and it sort of like takes you out for a second, like takes you out of your comfort zone or breaks a circle or whatever, and then that like is kind of addicting in a way, in its own way,
Yeah.
and it's like
Yeah.
a thing that you could. It's self indulgent, sure, but like
It's a good
I
feeling
think
though.
it's really cool how people do that, like how your
For
tastes
sure.
change and
Yeah.
evolve based on your own reactions to things.
Dude,
Um,
honestly, like, even for me, it was kind of like a leap too to like get into these guys, because like I wasn't really into punk at the time. I was still like riding that like fucking tech death prog metal fucking dance Gavin dance
Bro
wave.
phase.
You know what I mean? It's
mhm.
like
Yeah.
all this like noodly fucking music, and then it's like, hey, here's Pup. They're just a punk band, and I'm like,
They're the complete
yeah,
opposite.
I love this. Yeah, literally, it's the complete opposite of what you like right now. You're gonna love it, and I did.
Yeah. I have my bands for that.
Do we want to talk about Dance Gavin Dance?
What do you want to talk about?
Uh,
Is it a topic we want to broach?
I think actually
yeah,
no. I think we had something. It's gonna be like a bigger topic for the future. I
yeah,
think.
Okay.
that
Yeah,
deserves a segment of its own.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
But we
Okay.
will talk about it because I have a lot to fucking say.
Yeah. Yeah. But as of this recording, they just got dropped off of that Coheed tour, right?
Head
Yeah.
tour. Yeah.
And their replacement is fucking
Alkaline
Alkaline
Trio.
Trio.
Mhm.
How do
Hey,
Alkaline.
you
local boys,
Oh,
local
how do
boys.
fuck.
you do that? That's the craziest thing. You're like, Dance Gavin Dance?
Alkaline
Let's
Trio.
replace him with
Alkaline Trio.
Alkaline Trio. Again, polar fucking opposites.
I
I
love
was
that
listening
though. I
Yeah, I was
fucking
listening to
love
some
when
fucking
bands that shouldn't be touring together tour together. Like I think that's awesome.
dude, for
I've
real.
always been a big fan.
I think that like
Claudio's just
most
fuck everything.
touring packages should be something like that. Like Periphery should bring out fucking Pup and Phoebe Bridgers on their headlining tour. You know what I mean?
Right, Fit for an
Like,
Autopsy, Phoebe Bridgers World Tour
yeah, dude.
2023.
Well, dude, you
They
see
probably
it
would
happening
too.
now. There's a oh fuck, I can't remember what the rapper's name is, but they're bringing out like fucking like Turnstile or something. Oh, Knocked Loose. It was Knocked
Oh,
Loose.
that's
Fuck, dude, I can't remember who it is.
B.O.B.
but like okay, so that maybe I'm just nostalgic about that kind of thing cuz so little historical context here. In like the early 2000s, Chicago had a really big problem with like okay, so once smoking indoors became outlawed here, outlawed, became like
Lord.
something that we just stopped doing. It affected a lot of entertainment license stuff and logistics and bureaucracy and all that kind of stuff. And on top of that, and like, you know, inflation and a bunch of other stuff that was happening at the time, a lot of venues, mainstay venues, either had to close or got bought out. And then the city was like reconstructing or whatever. So there's a big period in the early 2000s, around the time I started first going to shows, where it was really hard to book shows here. So what ended up happening was a lot of DIY spots started popping up. I mean, that always existed, but like it started coming full force. And because like these, it was harder to book shows at venues. What you'd see a lot is bands that shouldn't be playing together because they were, you know, both part of like some kind of more underground or DIY scene, and it was hard to book shows. So they're like, okay, we'll throw a fucking metal band with the pop punk band, and like I think that like had a lot of influence over Chicago. Uh, I guess the music that we were writing and putting out then, because you know, Alkaline Trio playing with like a hardcore band. They played with Breather Resist once, and which was like a Young Widows band before they were Young Widows. Um, just weird shit like that, dude. Russian Circles playing with Minus the Bear, you know, like stuff like that would
I
happen.
saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so sick. And like, there was like a weird like cross pollination of genres that happen, and so when you see like these weird ass tours, it really reminds me of those of the my younger days, man. When you'd see like a metal band with a pop punk band, and then like a rapper, I think that that's fucking sick, and it's cool to see that make a resurgence. I don't know, like we're to the point now musically where like that's not weird anymore.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
Well, especially now in like you notice like a lot of especially in metal, you're noticing a lot more experimentation within genres. Like look at fucking like Loathe. Loathe is like fucking hardcore meets Meshuggah meets Deftones meets Smashing Pumpkins. You know what I mean? Like that's the sickest shit. Code Orange are a hardcore band that just put out a fucking industrial single. You know what I mean? Like I love
And them.
I'm loving this shit, you know, bands that are starting to do like super experimental genre crossing.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's my that. I love that shit.
and I remember seeing Code Orange in a basement, you know, like with
Yeah. When they
um
were Code Orange kids.
when they Code Orange kids, yeah, dude, they were like 15. It was wild. I remember like they opened for uh an Italian screamo band called Rain. Uh and this is really good. I'll save that story for later. That's a good story. But just like it's cool to see that kind of stuff happen. I think a really good example of that, John, is like Spirit Box, right? Because Spirit Box are like
Hey,
such a weird mix of like straight up pop and then just like proggy metal riffs just out of
Dude,
nowhere. You
Or
know,
like
it's like
their like first album, I wouldn't call it an album, EP or whatever, was like a gent
EP,
album,
yeah,
yeah, it is a
you know?
gent album. It really is.
And then like their
Dude,
singles
Collective.
after that were like genty metalcore, and then Eternal Blue is like gent and
Affection.
metalcore and like proggy shit, and then pop. Like they like what the fuck is that song? I think it's We Live in a Strange World is like a straight up pop song.
That we
You know what
live
I
in
mean?
a strange
yeah,
world.
yeah.
Yeah. You know what I
And
mean? Like they
yeah, dude,
cut
it's like bands are and just artists in general are kind of doing gent for the vibes, for better or
yeah, for
Yeah,
worse.
sure.
Like that's kind of even like even if you listen to like a lot of like radio pop music, like you hear kind of like detuned guitars, like just playing big old chords in the back
Dude,
now.
the craziest like I think realization of the impact that gent had was like when Papa Roach released a straight up fucking like gent song, and I was like, whoa. Because like they're a pretty big rock band, right? Like they still have fucking
Mhm.
and they're
stadiums
riding a
and shit.
trend.
And they're
Yeah.
yeah, dude. But like here's the thing. It wasn't a fucking bad song. I actually really like that song. But like
Yeah,
it was just weird because it's like, whoa, like it's really starting to like pick
Papa
up steam,
Roach.
eh?
I mean, I just think they're hypocrites because they wrote a song called Last Resort in like 1998 and that clearly wasn't their fucking last resort. Lion
That
sacks of
Fuckers.
shit.
song was the last resort. It was just,
Before
you know what? It was their Final Fantasy.
I was gonna fucking say it, dude.
Oh my
I was like waiting for you to finish so I could drop that. Fuck.
Motherfuckers.
You heard it here. Papa Roach Last Resort is the Final Fantasy of new metal and gent. Here it is. Here it is.
Well,
God.
carrying on from that, Spirit Box was actually one of my bands. Like, if not for an autopsy, they would be my biggest band, especially over the last 2 years. Because again, like with Sleep Token, I came across them in 2019. Funnily enough, so the North Lane album had just finished, and you know how you get that radio playlist after songs finish,
Mm.
and Spirit Box's Electric Cross came on, and I was just like, I fucking know that guitar work. That's fucking Mike Stringer, because I've been a Mike Stringer fan since 2013,
Yeah.
with Fallen Archaea. And like Courtney used to feature on their songs back then as well. And so, I've got
Oh shit! I didn't know that. Okay.
yeah, she featured in
Interesting, yeah.
their EP, or their album, sorry. And yeah, I was just like, I know who the fuck this is. This is Fallen Archaea. So I went, checked the Spotify, and it was fucking Spirit Box, and I'm just like, what? Who the fuck is this? And it was Courtney and fucking Mike Stringer, and I was like, holy shit! Like, that's how you know you've come across a guitarist that's kind of laid a foundation in regards to their sound. And that was Mike for me, because I used to watch his YouTube videos where he just sit and play playthroughs of his songs and stuff like that. And yeah, just being able to pick up that tone, and that style, I was just stoked. And then so I listened to that, and I showed Belinda them, and she goes, "Yeah, I fucking hate it." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Then I
Shut
showed her
down.
Balcara. Yeah, I showed her Balcara, and she's like, "Oh no, I hate it even more." I was like, "Oh fuck, okay, cool, don't worry." Then like Rules and Nine came out, and then I was like, "You'll love this shit." And then now she's so obsessed to the point where she's going to get them tattooed on her. Like, and then Eternal Blue, I think we listened to that for like 6 months straight after it came out. That our Eternal Blue, the song,
Yeah.
there's
So good.
so I'm a big
That's my
fan of
favorite
like
track
just,
there.
yeah, just subtle intricacies in songs. And then that song that has that do 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 do, and then there's this little noise it's just this do, like noise in it,
Mm.
Yeah,
and
dude,
it's
I
just,
fucking love that.
Yeah.
boy, fucking brilliant, and it's so simple. And then just when she starts coming in, and then the 90s, then it's that bass line that do 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 kicks
Mhm.
in, and then she's one by one cut the separation.
And then
Like,
the rolling fucking bass drum with that too,
yeah,
and the toms, dude, it's
Yeah.
so fucking good. Like
oh,
it fits
cut the
the delivery and
circulation.
the vocals. Yeah,
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 dude.
Oh,
it's
and
God
so
I was
damn.
just
good.
like, and it's just brilliant. And then fucking, then she, Holy Roller. My daughter, she loves Holy Roller. That's her song. Like we would get in the car from school, and she'd just the first song she'd go is Holy Roller, and she'd throw that on, and I just like fuck yeah. And so there's just something about a band where your whole family just wants in.
No
Like
shit.
watching my daughter make my mother sit down and watch all of Spirit Box's video clips was just in. She made it, and she's watching her like a hawk. She's like just staring at her the whole time, making sure she's actually watching the video clips.
Dude, that's so
And
good.
and she's just like, this is, Nan, this is my favorite song. This is, and it was Circle with Me. Oh no, not Circle with Me. That was what's the one to her grandmother? I'm having
Constance.
yeah, Constance, and she's making her watch it, and like then because I cried during that fucking video clip, like it's beautiful, and I actually didn't like Constance initially, but because my daughter would make me listen to it over and over, like every single day, it's now like one of my favorite songs,
Yeah.
and just the emotional impact of that album, just the feel, and you can tell it's a passion project for them. You can
Oh,
just
for
Oh
feel it.
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
We were talking about feel last week with Era, and you can just feel how much fun they're having. You can feel how much love is in this fucking album, man. And I love how
Definitely.
open that they are about that. Like, with not having Zev immediately included in that because they're such a tight knit group that it's important for them to lay like this is the platform, this is where we're at. We just need to make sure like that if we commit to this, like that's it. And even with the whole situation with their bassist leaving recently, like you can tell it's still a mutual thing, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's just so much love in that band itself as a whole, and the fact that they're husband and wife makes it even better. But yeah,
For
that
sure.
incredible album, and I don't give a fuck about all these people that try and write that album off as generic. You shit.
No,
Your
fuck
opinion.
that. Yeah, no, I mean, like, I go back and because, like, all right, I think I like this song. I like songs on Eternal Blue more than their other album, but like, I think there's a couple tracks. You mentioned that "We Live in a Strange World." I hate that song. I
Yeah, I'm
hate
not
it.
a.
I don't like it at all.
I
It's
think that
too like
that's
it's too hammy for me, man. I don't
yeah.
know. Like,
I think that's the
um,
weakest song on that album. But then like
100%. The
another
Summit
like
though.
poppy-ish. Yeah, The Summit is my favorite song on that
that
fucking
that one
album.
rules. That
And
one
that's
rules.
like a
Yeah.
Oh,
super poppy song, but I don't know, man, something about like everything like the whole mix of parts of that song make it incredible to me. Like it's a
question.
major standout.
Do you reckon Sam Carter's feature was necessary?
Ooh.
I,
I don't. I,
You
I
don't think so?
personally don't.
yeah,
I
I
think
mean, I
that's the
guess it could have
weakest
been
part of the
anyone.
album. I just
Wow.
Yeah.
don't think they should have
That's
featured.
interesting.
I don't get me wrong. I
Huh.
fucking love Sam Carter. I love Sam Carter. I just want to make that clear for any
Wait,
haters
what's
out
this?
there.
Yellow Jacket?
Yeah,
Yellow
Yellow
Jacket's a
Yellow
Jacket.
Jacket.
song, right? Yeah. Mhm.
I love Sam Carter. I think he's one of the greatest vocalists of our time. I really do. I'm pretty sure Courtney LaPlante said her and Keith Buckley from Every Time I Die are her favorite singers of like ever. Um, it's cool, but I just feel like, and I've seen it. I have seen it in Twitter and stuff like that. When Spirit Box they automatically jump to Sam Carter, and I feel it's detrimental to them as a whole that on your debut album that people are all about Sam Carter, the feature, and I think it just takes away
Mhm.
from the album for me. That's why I think it's the weakest component.
I
Yeah,
get what you're saying, but I think that Sam really ties that song together. I
He's
mean,
awesome, yeah.
I don't know. I think that like his vocal, what he does contribute to it. I get what you're saying. I get that
yeah, I
you
get that
don't
too.
want to reach for the best thing on your first like output out into the world. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
And
Yeah.
I only say that as like I think Sam's one of the best vocalists in like metalcore. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
don't reach for the,
Easily.
but for them to do that, that's kind of a fucking ballsy move,
Dude,
right?
that's the
Oh
same with
yeah.
the Kara album that I mentioned, because like
Yeah,
your first
with
like big
Anthony
release
Green.
having Anthony Green on there, that's like the Sam Carter of like indie music, right?
Indie rock. Yeah.
For
Right,
sure.
but so the okay, I get what you're saying too, and I do agree, but I don't think it was political. I think it was as political as you're suggesting. I think it was more like, oh, we know him and he's down to drop some lines kind of
Yeah.
thing. And so
Yeah.
I mean, could be wrong. I could be wrong, but like to me, that's what it reads like. I don't think it was like a oh, we're producing this song so Sam Carter could come and drop us and get us some
Oh
clicks,
no,
maybe.
definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's not a spirit box thing at all. You can, I definitely know that wasn't the case with them. It was more like, it would have been like, oh my god, Sam Carter's joining our song. Like
Right, like let's
that's
like let's let
yeah,
him kind of. Yeah.
yeah. He wants to. This is the fucking best thing in the world, and I can imagine Courtney just going off about it.
Yeah.
And it, but yeah, it's just I don't know. It's one of those things I hate. It's like how rappers inundate their fucking
Bless you.
albums with guest features, and it's just like oh fuck that. That's why I love Kendrick Lamar because he's just willing to do things on his own. Like
So
even though he does poppy stuff like features with other people, his albums themselves are more like he features like relatively unknown artists, except for Bilal and stuff, but he's confident in his own abilities despite his fame and his presence. And yeah,
Yeah.
I just feel like it wasn't necessary. But again, like I said, that the fact that you've got the one of the best singers in metalcore as your feature being what someone would consider the weakest element of your album is incredible. That says insane things about your album.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, yeah. For better or worse, and almost like it, in a roundabout way, it makes that appearance stronger. You know, like because
yes,
it's like because it's one of the weaker elements of the track and maybe even the album. Like, I think it's like it's almost
oh,
like gaslighting you. I don't know. Like it's what. All right, I have one last thing to say about Eternal Blue before I ask you guys a question, and it's that that album is like you don't really see a lot of albums nowadays that are like as stylized as that. Like they do the whole like
yeah,
almost like synesthetic color theory approach to even some of the sounds on the songs sound like what the phrase eternal blues is. The
bro,
whole art
yes.
on the album, like it ties it all together. I
I
put this
love
light
the
blue.
marketing.
Dude, it's so good. I
The
Yeah.
put this light
package.
blue for that. I
Oh,
eat up
thanks.
style like fucking cheesy stylistic shit because like the cerulean sky thing is blue, right? So I like having that. It's like maybe that. Yeah. Hey. Okay. All
You
right.
know what's weird? The fact that they used Helvetica for their fucking font
And it looks
and
good.
it doesn't come across gross
Yeah.
or corporate. Like it suits
Yeah,
everything so fucking well.
dude. I wanted to say something about that. I didn't know if it was going too nerdy. That's good. I'm glad you said it. But yeah, I want to ask you guys a question. Do you think? And you know what? I'll start because this is sort of a nebulous question. So I'm a very introverted person by nature. I think like I have like two social interactions in me a week on a public level where before I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'm gonna go in my room, you know. Um, and so like something like COVID didn't really affect me that much. And I don't mean
Not
this
at
in a
all.
Giga Chad way, right? Like Seth, you know, because I remember you were talking about this yesterday. Um, but like for me, like having to stay inside isn't that big of a deal. Like being like I don't need an excuse to sit in and like not go out just because I want to listen to music or play video games or watch movies or whatever. Or so like the way I listened to music was not markedly different, if different at all, from the way I did pre-COVID. You know, I would almost say that I did like the COVID listening style before it was cool, man. I'm like a COVID hipster. And so I feel like I have a really boring response to this whole topic because my music taste didn't really change. I didn't really use this opportunity to discover anything new, and that's kind of on me. I mean, I always discover new things, but I didn't make a concerted effort, right? whereas like it seems like everybody else I talk to about this kind of thing is always like, oh yeah, I used that opportunity, I discovered math rock, or I started digging deep into Iron Maiden's cat. Like I didn't do any of that. Everything was just kind of the same, and maybe that makes me boring as fuck. But I'm wondering if you guys had any experience. I'm gonna ask John first, because I think, John, correct me if I'm wrong, but you seem like a lot more extroverted than myself or Seph.
I definitely am. I'm probably that stupid term extroverted introvert where it's like,
Ambivert.
yeah, sure. Now I know what it's
That's what it
called.
is. A bunk
But
ass
yeah, dude,
floaty
it's
term, but
like
yeah.
I do need like some sort of like face to face connections, but it's limited in how much I can take.
Mhm.
I'm somebody who like really enjoys their fucking private time to myself, to listen to music, play games, watch movies, whatever, you know what I mean? But I still like, I like connection. I like going to concerts and seeing friends and doing shit. So, when COVID happened, that took all that away. Like that took like a big part of my life. I was going to like fucking like 50 shows a year, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So to
I
like
see
have
that.
that gone, it's like it's weird. And I think that's like why I dove so much into the like Twitter and like Reddit and like meeting people
That's
online
the
and like
same.
connecting to like people who listen to things that I wouldn't normally listen to. And I think that brought like a whole new wave of music that like I probably wouldn't have connected with by myself, right? Because like I don't know, something like meeting Seph, for instance. It's like you introduced me to like a bunch of shit that I've never fucking heard of, like Fit for an
Yeah.
Autopsy or Bleed from Within. I think this is what they were called. You know what I mean? It's like, and like Joey, like you showed me like Cara and like fucking dozens of other bands that like I've never would have found myself.
If
So
you ever
it's
want
interesting.
Scrimblow, I got you.
Scrimlow for every facet of life.
Yeah, 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 right. But no, no, yeah, John, same. I mean, let's like, I don't know. I feel like, I said COVID didn't really affect me that much in terms of that, but I'm thinking about it. And it's like, yeah, it kind of did, because I sort of branched out from my friend group a little bit with stuff like this, and it's like meeting you guys too, and a couple other folks on Twitter and another forum that I posted on. Um, really, like I think it gave me an excuse to want to do something like that, because it's like, yeah, I could talk to my friends whenever. I mean, maybe that sounds like I'm a bad friend. It's not like I wasn't talking to my friends. It's just that like it made me branch out, because I'm like, I'm stuck here. So I'm like, oh, I might as well like make more of an effort to talk to people I normally wouldn't in some way. Um, so yeah, I don't think anyone's like. I didn't mean to like try to imply that I was like inoculated or like resistant to to COVID shit. Like, but I do think it's like the dynamics that play out between people's media habits and COVID is fascinating to me. So, Seth,
For
what
the
about you,
most
man? How
part,
do you think that
for the
really?
sorry, quick thing. It was
No,
like
no,
for the
go ahead.
most
Sorry.
part, my media habits didn't change at all.
Right. Right.
Still gonna sit here and play video games.
I've just read heaps, like just lots of books. But my big thing is that I've always been known as the shit mate, but people seem to still want to chill out and hang out with me. But I'm horrible with communication. I don't answer back messages. I'm notorious for ignoring phone calls and never getting back, and then calling back a week later and saying, "Hey, what's up?"
I
Um,
feel that. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
and all my mates know that, and if they're listening to this, you're probably sitting there nodding your head. Um, it's one of those things, but with this, like, so with COVID and all that stuff, it gave me an excuse, like to, or not an excuse. Well, yeah, it gave me an excuse, like to not be able to have to commit to anything like that, and then I could kind of just spend days like. So what I'd have is a soundtrack for my day. Like I think I was telling you guys, like with Sekiro, once I finished that, I just wanted music, and that's how I found Elijah Nang, and I'll just mellow out to that. Like I'd have that. So I literally fit speakers in all the rooms in my household, so that and then I connected it all to my Alexa, so that I could just have music playing all day. And so during isolation periods, I'd just find a soundtrack for the day and just have that playing, and that's all we'd listen to, whether it was Spirit Box all day or some chill hop vibes like Kupla or something like that. Uh, Even Michael Jackson, like I just have it playing the whole time, and yeah, it just gave me a means to just mellow out and vibe to, and so I could really, I don't know, just become a little bit solipsistic, like the center of my own universe when it came to my musical preferences. So yeah, it's just really good. And yeah, what I throw a big one that I forgot to say is so Hollow Knight. You guys know I'm a Hollow Knight fucking fanboy. I think I've mentioned before it was actually the soundtrack that got me addicted to the game before the game itself. That soundtrack by Christopher Larkin, I think I listened to that for thousands of hours because I just have it playing on repeat all the time. Like throughout the house, I just walk and all I hear is Hollow Knight music, so I might feel like I'm lost in the game itself. Just walk. My
That's
house
sick.
is it's deep. My house is deepness, but yeah, that was
Well, you're in Australia, so all those kind of bugs do exist there, and it really hits home, I think, for you.
yeah. So Hollow Knight, oh bloody Hollow Knight, and I've got it on the brain now. COVID, yeah, it just gave me an excuse so that people wouldn't think I'm a shit cunt because I didn't have to offer an excuse.
Yeah. No, I feel that, man. I'm very much of the same boat. Like I have trouble like concentrating on something, right? So like a lot of times, and I'm not trying to make excuses if I don't answer texts or messages or something like that. I'm just trying to provide context, right? So like a lot of times like if I'm out somewhere, like even now, I saw somebody texted me, right? And in my mind, I'm like, "Oh, I'll answer them after this podcast." And I just
Yeah.
never do. Right? Or like I start a text and then my dog like starts like I'm like, oh shit, I gotta take my dogs out. And then the ADHD brain just comes into full effect. And then sometimes it's also like, oh, I want to respond to somebody, but I don't have the words that I want to say right now. And so it gets put on the back burner and then ultimately procrastinated into deep nest. So like I understand that. And it's like COVID, I think there's such an fucking fascinating discussion about like solipsistic behavior and media habits during this time, right? Like you mentioned it, Seph, and I think that's fascinating. But I do want to ask one more question for you guys. Any video game soundtracks during this time that like you guys revisited or got really into during COVID, other than Hollow Knight?
Yeah,
David
like
Finn,
for
anything
sure.
he did.
For me, it was Final Fantasy VII Remake, Near Automata and Replicant, and Final Fantasy 14. Like, I got so fucking into those three. Like, I actually, funny enough, I got into the soundtrack for Final Fantasy 14
Before you played, right?
before I even played the fucking game. Like, I was listening to it like for hours before I was even touched the fucking thing. That's
Do you
crazy.
think that made you want to play it?
Absolutely. I mean,
Interesting.
no, I
Yeah,
did. I think I got to like level 30 and then stopped. And then like I
Oh
just
yeah,
kept
yeah.
listening
Okay.
to the music and I was like, this is really making me want to get back in there.
uh, David Finn, everything he's done for me is perfection. Like Titan Souls, Death Door, and most importantly, Moonlighter. Holy balls, that soundtrack is incredible. Have you guys played Moonlighter?
Dude,
No,
it's on
that's
my
on my
list.
list. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
John and I had to
goodness.
say the third time this stream that John and I have had the exact same thought. Fuck off. uh,
What?
just John always. Just John always. Yeah. How would you describe his style, Seth?
um, there's a lot of like, especially in Moonlighter, like Middle Eastern vibes, but it's just clever, fucking clever music.
Mm.
It's the like, there's the so I don't know. You guys have more gaming history than me. Like you play a lot more video games. So in the central hub of Moonlighter, there's this song, right? Now, when you're walking around, that song plays. Now, when you approach the blacksmith, the song actually shifts and it still plays,
Oh,
but
so it
then
stems.
it starts incorporating like hammer noises and like
Yeah, okay.
sparks, and then
Yeah.
Oh, that's
you walk
cool.
out and then you go to the hawker and then it's more like like Sly, and you can feel the changes in the music, and then you go to the alchemist and then like just everything you know you're talking to an alchemist, you know you're talking to a hawker, you know you're talking to a blacksmith, but then it all just blends. Like once you get into their vicinity, it changes to suit like the aesthetic of, or that particular shopkeeper or whatnot. And I've never experienced that in a game to that extent, just the way that it blends so seamlessly. And from that moment, I was just like, holy fuck. And then just like the intro to Moonlighter, the theme song for Moonlighter, as you turn that game on, it's kind of like Green Path for me. I have it in my head like at least
Hmm.
every second day. And yeah, David Finn, he's just one of those composers with like Christopher Larkin, that he's just done something that I'll carry. It's like how people still love who's a Super Mario composer?
Uh, not Koji. Is it Koji Kondo?
I think he did.
Yeah.
I can't remember, but just he made songs that are memorable, and I'll fight anyone and say that for me, Green Path means more to me than fucking Super Mario theme and whatnot. Like, I
Yeah.
just, I think it's, and that's not shitting on. I love my 8-bit music, like Castlevania, like, dee-dee-dee-doo, dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. Like, you just, your music there and memorable stuff. But yeah, David Finn will be something I carry with me into old age. Like, just all
Hell
his
yeah.
music. Cool.
Damn, that's really cool. That's getting me to want to play Moonlighter too. I think a soundtrack that I've always listened to, like every couple years, I go back to it and rediscover it. But like it hit me especially hard recently was Silent Hill 2.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Um, it's like one of the best soundtracks ever made, and
it is.
like I haven't
without
played
a
that
doubt.
game in like probably 20 years or like pretty much like since it came out. And oh no, I no in like 2003 or 4, I think I went through it again. But like yeah, no, for some reason that soundtrack has been getting a lot of playtime in this house. And what was I listening? I learned The Promise, and I was playing it, and I remember Kelly was sitting on the couch, and I was listening to it on the TV, and then I'm like, I'm sorry. And I just kept playing it over and over again for like an hour. Just stuck in my head. Just it won't
Yeah,
leave.
dude, like everything on there is so fucking good. My favorite song on there is actually it's Love Psalm. It's
Oh
like
yeah, yeah,
this
that
like
one rules.
90s ass like rockin' tune. I love
Well,
it.
every song, like, okay, that song is or that album is or OST is so wild because it's like here's this super textural, like terrifying ambient track. Here's this like really ethereal ambient track that was like even for video games of its type was very very atmospheric.
Yeah,
And
dude.
here's that, and then here's a fucking like almost stock music tone. Like I love Theme of Laura and The Promise. They're like in my top video
Name
game
of
songs
Laura, that's
easily.
what I was thinking. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they do kind of sound like stock music in a way, like that guitar tone. Like and
Yeah.
if
I
you
totally
sing
get what you're
"fuck my
saying.
ass" to it, like it's so funny. You have to sing "fuck my ass" to The Promise.
But
Like,
I'll do it.
after this podcast, listen to the Promise and sing it. But yeah, so it's like it's such a weird dichotomy of styles on that OST, and I love it.
Yeah,
Going
dude, it's
back to
like all
the
over the
whole like
place.
weird mixed genre thing, I think
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that's the game itself as it approaches each theme, like as you progress through the game.
Yeah, for
Oh, for
sure.
sure, for sure.
Dude, I'm trying to think of what the fuck that one song's called. I think it's called Silent Heaven. And it's the creepiest fucking song that Yamaoka has ever made. And he's made some pretty creepy fucking tunes, but it's like halfway through the song, everything just like goes silent, and then you hear like this
Ah,
like
yes.
deep
Oh, yeah.
machine
Yeah,
like
yeah.
thumping, like dun dun
I
dun
always think
dun.
it's my neighbors.
It's fucking weird, and I love it. Because like that part in the game is like you go into this apartment and there's like butterflies in this room, metaphorical butterflies, and like
Yeah,
there's a
Mm.
yeah, yeah.
hole in the wall and you gotta stick your hand in to pull something out, and it's just like the lighting and everything is so fucking creepy. So when that kicks in, you're just like, fuck, dude.
What is going on here?
Hell yeah. I do think we probably are at the wrap up time. Anyone else want to talk briefly about COVID album?
Yes, I do, because there was one band that I didn't get to bring up yet, so I'm
Yeah,
gonna
go for it.
fire real quick. Jeff Rosenstock, my
Oh, I knew it.
motherfucking dude. That
I
guy
knew it.
right there, number one. Favorite artist of all time. 2 albums,
Ooh.
No Dream and Worry. Perfect albums, front to fucking back. If you haven't heard them, listen to them. Politics, fucking depression, love, everything. That dude fucking nails it. Gentrification, fucking how festivals have become such a fucking corporate commodity. The
Mm-hmm.
dude, he's a fucking genius. He's a
Wait,
modern
that's the
day
Bomb the
genius.
Music Industry guy, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I thought so. Yeah.
Yeah, dude,
Hell
I
yeah.
fucking love that guy. He's incredible. Jeff
That's
Rosenstock.
the guy I said, Jeff Manbun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude has no hair, so that's why I was like,
yeah,
Jeff
that's even
Manbun.
funnier.
I don't even. I was like, I just remember you posting an artist up, and I was like, I've got to check him out. And I thought he had a man bun, and then like I was just like, is that the guy? And it was not. But yeah, I haven't actually listened to him yet, so I will definitely give him a listen today.
Dude,
Yeah,
I
dude, he's
know
incredible.
exactly because, like, okay, because I've listened to a little bit of his stuff and it rips, but like, just from the name alone, I totally understand why you would infer that. Like,
Dude,
it does fit.
okay, I gotta tell you a quick story. I
Uh-huh.
remember No Dream came out in 2020, and I follow a lot of people who were like super into him, and like the cover's like a house melting, and it's like tie dye, and that's what I thought. I thought he was like some weirdo fucking indie rock guy, and I was
Right,
like,
right, right.
Jeff Rosenstock, like who the fuck is this guy? I'm not even gonna fucking listen to this shit. And then one day, like 4 months ago, I got super bored, and I was like, Jeff Rosenstock, eh? Let's give him a listen. I remember when everybody was talking about him a year ago. Let's listen to him. And I'm just like, what the fuck?
Mhm.
What the fuck? Why do I love this? Why did I fucking wait?
The pup effect, bro. That's the pup
Puff,
effect all
yeah,
over again.
Fucking pup effect.
dude. Yeah, I've got to definitely check him out today. Then if he's that good.
Yeah, dude, I love him.
Hell
Uh,
yeah.
Incredible.
my last one for COVID band that I don't know, I'd never really heard of them, but then something makes me think I should have is Spire. They're actual tech death
I
metal,
don't think I ever
and I
listened
think
to
they're
it.
Canadian as well.
They are.
Yeah, and
I think they just won our version of the Grammys for metal album.
fuck
Hmm.
yeah, well, Bleed the Future, that was well deserved because the thing is though, so the singles up to that, leading up to that, I was obsessed with. Like, I think I listened to Bleed the Future. It would have been nigh on like in the hundreds. Like, I just listened to that. Dante and I were just listening to that like at least 10 times a day. And then the album came out. The album's fucking unreal. And then once I'd listened to it like for a couple of months, I haven't listened to it this year. I don't think it's weird.
It happens. You go
I,
through the cycles. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was it was relative to the period of time because that's when we'd just gone through an isolation again as well. So
Hmm.
and because as everyone knows, Australia gets forced into these isolation periods where we go like 2 weeks where we can't do anything except chill at home and play video games. Like that's a sad thing. And yeah, and get paid for it, by the way. Um, And yeah, I just obsessed with that album and Archspire as a whole, and just the unique style because I like rap, I like hip hop, and so to hear he wanted to emulate vocalists like Tech Nine, but add that bark over it, and that's how you get those shotgun vocals. I was just so interested in the anatomy of the band itself because they're all insanely technical musicians. Like you just like Dean Lamb. I love Dean Lamb. Like we just sit there and watch his like that's one of the few times actually you watch YouTube videos. Is his 4 levels where they get a riff and they see if they can play them from a
Oh, yeah,
band.
that's sick.
Yeah, and they progressively get harder, and him and his missus see if they can play them. And yeah, so like you just watch the musicians individually, and then when they made the band, and then you watch all their documentaries and stuff like that, and they're just like, the reason they got better is because they didn't want to let their other bandmate down because they're like, oh, I don't want to be considered the shit one in the band. And then that was just a cool thing. Like, when you've got time during
I
COVID
think
to be
I've
able
heard
to
you
dive
say
in.
this verbatim, by the way, about yourself.
What's
Like,
what do you
like you
mean?
said this about in Cerulean Skies. You're like, I don't want to be the guy who holds everybody back or something like that. I want to contribute.
Oh, yeah, I have that mentality, man, and so to hear another person say that, it's I have a deep respect for it because I'm just like, yeah, I know exactly what you mean, and it drives me to be better. Like if I'm seeing other people doing things, and then I'm like, okay, I've got to be able to do that. I've got to be able to do that and go above and beyond, and to see them do that and emulate that in their sound and the way they approach their music, and then but it doesn't. We're talking about guitar wankery, like bands like Animals as Leaders and stuff like that, how they kind of get lost in their own art. I feel like Archspire, they get lost in their music, and that's the difference. They,
Interesting.
yeah, like they don't get lost in. They don't. They're trying to one up in one another, but it doesn't feel like wankery or it doesn't feel unnatural to an extent. It feels like right, and that's why I think I love it so much. And I think the only reason I haven't gone back to it is because I'm just not in a tech death vibe. I just want something more thrashy, more thumpy. Like I said, or more fit for an autopsy. Just fit for an autopsy. That's it. That's all I want.
Fair. That's fair. Cool. I think that's a good wrap up point. Thank you guys again for hanging out and chatting some tunes, some tunes.
Some big tunes.
It's
We'll do this
always awesome.
again as soon as we can. I'm just going to be indisposed for a while, but if anyone else wants to take the reins here, please be my guest. So yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks again. Anyone want to say anything else before we close out here?
No.
John? No, I'm good. Fucking
Cool.
fun as always.
Hell yeah. Great. Well, listen to Seven Angels, Seven Plagues.